Benisa. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Long time no see. How long has it been?
So we traveled across country together back in 2010.
Yes. Oh my God. That is
Yeah.
like one of my favorite memories. I will never forget that trip. I think we went through all seasons in like that in 2 or 3 days, right?
Yes, uh-huh.
Yeah, we experienced like floods. I remember there were like floods and then
Rain,
rain. Yeah.
wind, like all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
elements. Earth,
Yeah,
wind,
I
fire.
know. Yeah, it was pretty scary, but we were so brave and we like did the trip in no time. We were like supposed
Yeah.
to show up 2 days later.
Yeah, right? And I
Yeah,
couldn't believe how like it was just like the movies. We washed up in the gas station bathroom. We just ate whatever on the road.
chips and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, we had like no real food for 3 days.
Yes. Uh-huh. And then remember we made it to your friend's house and I crashed out.
Yeah, yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, and then we decided the next day, was it the next day we said we were gonna like sleep in once we got to a destination. We're gonna like sleep in all day because we barely had sleep for 3 days. And then we
Uh-huh.
woke up like super early the next day, even though we
Uh-huh.
had closed off the curtains and stuff.
And put D&D and put the
Yeah,
towel
yeah,
underneath
yeah.
the door so that way there was no light coming in.
Yeah, I remember when we went to like Applebee's, I think, for dinner when we
Mhm.
arrived there. And once we had like an actual meal, I remember that I was just feeling so tired. I could not like move anymore. And I thought that I would probably sleep for like 2 days straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the
And
next
it
day
felt
we woke
so
up
nice
early.
to like stretch out in the bed and just like
Yeah,
be
yeah.
flat.
Yeah, because I had that the car was like packed to the max. I don't even think we could even like look out the back, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
And
think I
then
only packed like 2 or 3 pairs of clothes and I
yeah,
wore
yeah.
the clothes that I had on for 2 or 3 days.
Mhm. And then we
Yeah.
took that trip to Virginia Beach the next day.
Uh-huh.
Not thinking it was like July 4th weekend, and we ended up being stuck in traffic. Remember, we were like in
Yeah.
the car all day, and I was like, oh, why did we do this to ourselves again?
Yeah. I was like,
But
"Hey, I'm just following you, Vanessa."
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I promised you I would take you to the East Coast and the actual ocean. You know, that was the whole purpose of your trip to
Yeah.
finally see the East Coast. So,
Yeah.
that
Yeah, and I
was,
can't wait to go back. I think it would be nice to go back with family and check it
oh,
out.
yeah, 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 you
Yeah.
definitely should take him. There's so many great places to see. And I mean, you probably still get a discount, right? Do you work still in the hotel industry?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
That's
you,
where I
you
was
should
at
take
today.
advantage. Oh, yeah, yeah. You should definitely take advantage. So, why don't we start off with the interview? Why don't you tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself and why you are wearing that beautiful jewelry and
Yay!
outfit?
Okay, everybody, my name is Rhonda Slowman-Day, and I will go ahead and introduce myself in the proper way of the Navajo people. Yat e, shit e, Rhonda Slowman-Day yinin shie. Tabahan din shle, Turuk orja bashes chin, ki ani dashache, but ahni dashanele. Shit e, Salt Lake City e shikawan. Ado Weber State University e ostra. Shema e, Rosa Naka yinin shie. Sorry. Rosa Nakai would yeah. Roy Sloman a shije Ado sh masana a Betty Nakai shije Ado shiche a Frank Nakai and Ado sh Nulla Husteen a Fred Sloman Senior and Ado sh Nulla Asdan Eda Sloman and Kut out Dene Asdan and Shle. Hello, everybody. My name is Rhonda Slowman-Day. In the Navajo culture, we introduce ourselves to the people with our 4 clans. And my 4 clans are I am born to the Edgewater people,
Mhm.
born for the Bitterwater people. My maternal grandfather is born to the Towering House people, and my paternal grandfather is born to the Folding Arms people. I also mentioned that I am from Salt Lake City, Utah, is where my home is. I currently go to school and enrolled full-time student at Weber State University. My mother and father's names are Roy Slowman and Rosie Nakai. And my maternal grandparents are Frank Nakai, the late Frank Nakai, and my grandmother Betty Nakai. And then my paternal grandparents are the late Fred Slowman Sr. and the late Etta Slowman. And that's how I introduce myself as a Navajo woman in the Navajo tribe.
Wow, I have never heard you do that. So that gave me goosebumps. That I love, learning about other cultures and even like teaching other people about different cultures, because I think that, the United States is just it's huge, and there's just people from all backgrounds, and I am so like honored to have you. I don't know, I feel like a lot of people here claim that they are part Native American, but to know somebody that's truly Native American, makes me really proud. And I'm so excited that you get to share with, others about your culture and, your upbringing, and just educate people all around. So, I want to start off by your jewelry. Actually, I just love, like, can you give me a little bit, or not just myself, but the listeners and viewers again too? Can you give us a little bit more about like how did that jewelry come about, or why exactly is it like the turquoise? Do you know that?
So the little bit I know about the turquoise history is that the turquoise history is considered a sacred stone given to us by the creators of the world. The turquoise jewelry is considered to be a luck stone, a prosperity stone. And then also the turquoise jewelry is to be similar as gold. This is our gold. This is our richness of life. So that's as much as I know about that.
Okay, cool. So tell me, so you are Navajo, and then your husband, he is from a different tribe, right?
Yes, my husband, he is Northern Arapaho. He was born and raised on the Wind River Reservation of Wyoming, and that's where he comes from.
Gotcha. So can you like describe, like, are the traditions different between the two tribes? Like, are the traditions, and I guess, the upbringing maybe even too, is it different?
Yeah, they're different. And what I grew up in a traditional home. So there's some things that other tribes do that we don't practice, and that we see as superstitious. But knowing that my husband's culture practices his beliefs and his traditions, but they don't collide with each other. They kind of run almost the same way, a little bit different, but side by side. So therefore, that bad omen is not something that I'm going against my tribe and my traditional beliefs.
So you guys share a daughter. So how are you raising her?
So right now, in the Navajo culture, women are considered the matriarch of the tribe. So they are and any tribe as well. I know of other tribes that women kind of lead the pack a little bit. But, so I try to teach my daughter, who she is and where she comes from, make sure that I relay to her the importance of our clans. I also try to let her know that being Native American is a little hard, especially in American society, but not to get discouraged. There's some things that I know that we're still learning from my mom. And then my husband's tribe, I also make sure that we try to learn his tribe and his culture and his traditions and beliefs, because she is part of two tribes. And I believe for a Native American to be strong and carry on your tradition, you should know where you come from and practice those traditions. So we do our best. We teach as we go, because we're both still we've been together for so long that we're both still learning about each other, but we still respect each other in a way that is, we respect each other. We know that, okay, well, in your tribe you're not supposed to do this, in your tribe we're not supposed to do that. But his tribe seems to be a little bit more powerful. So he has also taught me too that not to be afraid, be confident, be confident that your power, your confidence power takes over the negativity. So yeah,
that's awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna dive into some of my questions that I kind of lined up for you, and then we can discuss anything further that just sort of comes along. So what is actually what is there a specific like traditional drink in the Navajo or the Native American community? Is there something that like is like is there a coffee drink or tea, anything that you guys typically traditionally drink?
Yeah, so as far as I know, the Navajo tea, which is a plant that grows wildly on the reservation, that you can just go out. Some people know what the plant looks like, so they just go out and pick it, clean it, just brush off or clean or filter out whatever would be on the plants that would have got caught on it. And then they just end up just like folding it up into three, and then storing it. And then when it comes time to drink it, they drink it, naturally. They boil it in water. And then a lot of people I know who get sick or have like a little throat, a little throat cough or itchiness, they turn to that herbal tea and to drink it and let it self-heal themselves. So that's called Navajo tea. And also another drinks that I know Native Americans drinks is just straight up coffee, straight up black. So they drink that as well. And then I know there's a consumption of peyote. That is an herb that is boiled, but that's not a drink that is consumed on a daily basis. That is a drink that would be consumed only during ceremonial, traditional purposes.
Gotcha. So, I remember just, growing up, my grandparents watched a lot of, movies about the Wild Wild West, and within like, how they portrayed Native Americans in the movies, they were really big in like medicine and basically natural remedies. Is that something you guys still, kind of live by?
Yes. Like I mentioned before, that Navajo people are traditional people that believe in ceremony. We believe that we should practice our ceremony, sing our songs, and live in harmony, which is called hojo. So that way and we continue to feed our gods, Diyin, corn pollen in the morning, say our little prayers. We burn cedar, we burn sage to bless our home, to bless ourselves. And then some of the herbal medicines that we take from Mother Earth, we consume in our body, so that way it can cleanse ourselves and it can help recenter ourselves. So that way we can live the Hajon way.
Awesome. Tell me about some traditional foods. I mean, I already know one that I just like fell in love with. And when I was living there, and when you and your mom like, cooked for us at the hotel, oh my God, that was like the best, the fry bread. So what are some like traditional meals or foods that you prepare?
So I don't prepare those foods, but my mom and her family, I would say every festive activity that we've had, we always butcher a sheep and we use every part of that sheep. So our delicacy is mutton. And my favorite traditional food would be roast mutton, which would be with fry bread, the roast mutton meat, some green chili, some potatoes and corn on the side. Also, you can do mutton stew and fry bread. Mutton stew would be the mutton stew with the potatoes, your vegetables to make up a stew. That's really good. Another also delicacy is the fry bread that we always talk about, and the Navajo, making it into a Navajo taco with your beans and beef, cheese, lettuce, tomato on top. That's also really good. I know my family, like I said, we use every part of the sheep. So my parents and my aunts and cousins, they all love a part of the sheep that's called a chi, which is the fat layer that's rolled up, and then it is wrapped, like wrapped up. So the fat roll is rolled up like a sushi roll almost, and then it's wrapped around with the cleaned intestine. And then they grill that, and I know my mom and my aunts, my cousins, they go wild over that. But it's just like, it's just like the fatty grease part that I think is the favorite. And then they also do the blood sausage, which is the belly of the sheep. It's cleaned out, of course. And then the blood that has drained from the sheep at the beginning when you butcher it, the blood is then put inside that belly, and then you add in your potatoes and carrots, or some just add potatoes, and then you twist it up and you tie it and you boil it. And I know that's another traditional food that the Navajo people love to eat as well. So, yeah.
So as far as like the meats, you would say sheep is like the number one.
Yes.
Gotcha. It's lamb. Lamb is, really big in my community too.
Like yeah, lamb.
Yeah.
We find lamb here at the Arabic stores, and they taste similar. And so my mom, she'll go over there and we'll have mutton stew like once a month or something, and oh, it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. I do like for our tradition is to roast a lamb on a stick, like the whole lamb.
Yeah.
And they like they put like it's like salt water on a rag, and they just like keep like putting it on the lamb as it like roasts. So it gets really crispy on the outside and of course it's, salty. But it basically just roasts, like it like slow roasts all day until it's done. And I'm not honestly, I really don't care much for lamb, but that like roasted like that, I love it. It's just some, I don't know. I just, the flavor is just to die for.
Yeah. That's how it is too. Like we don't have it every day. We don't have it, every week. So when we do have it, it's like, oh my gosh, So yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. So we covered the drinks. Okay. So you've been married most of your adulthood, right?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I've met my husband first. Funny story. I met my husband in junior high. We were just friends, just classmates then. And then he moved back to the reservation, went to school there. And then he came back to Salt Lake City sophomore year. And that was in 2001. And since then, we have been dating. And so this year we have been together for 20 years now.
Wow.
So we're high school sweethearts.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And then we recently, not recently, but we've tied the knot back in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So this year will be our 15-year anniversary.
Wow. You know, and you guys are still so young. That's so crazy, you know.
I
So
know.
pretty much you've grown up together.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I now look at Rhea, our daughter, and think, man, she could have had a boyfriend a couple of years ago. Like, that's so weird. She doesn't have a boyfriend now, which is good, which
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no rush.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
but yeah, so I'm like, oh my gosh, we were so young, so dumb.
I know when you see your children, like once they like start approaching the age that you like got married on, right? Or around, you're like, oh my God, did I look like that? Like I looked like that at around that time. I was so
Mhm.
young and like you said, and dumb. Like what
Yeah.
was I thinking? Wanting to get married, you know, like get married so young, or like how do you know? Like you really don't know that early on, but you know,
No.
I mean, you got really lucky and you found,
Yeah.
you know, your partner for life. So,
Mhm.
what are some learnings you want to share, like, you know, since you've been with him? Like, what has worked best for you in your relationship or marriage?
I think what has worked best with us is to be open and honest with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to your partner or significant other as you would talk to your friend.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell everybody, or in my post, he's my secret keeper. He is the person that I can run to and laugh with. He's the person that I can run to and joke with. I can go to him crying, I can go to him mad, and he will listen to me. And same thing, vice versa. If he has something on his mind, we talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing too is also the traditional beliefs, be open to each other, be open to each other's beliefs, culture, traditions, learn and come with an open mind, knowing
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to learn something along the way. And if you can accept those things, you'll make it. You'll survive.
Mm-hmm. It feels really good when you have just somebody by your side that completely understands you. You don't have to like try hard to,
Mhm.
you know, to please them, and you just get each other. You know,
Mhm.
I finally get to experience that, and I just feel like, you know, I can be myself just the way I am, and you know, I don't have to um like it's not a one-sided. I'm not the only one working at it, you know, at this. It's like
Mhm.
both really want it, and we're going to do whatever it takes to keep it going. And so, you know, you and I have had many conversations, you know, and at some point in my life I thought that maybe it was just not meant to be to you know,
Mhm.
for me to have something like that. But you know, I'm really glad that I have that now. And you know, I've always admired you guys because you were just like, you know, best friends, always on some kind of road trips, going, you know, to the casinos, or you know, to
Uh-huh.
the reservations, or you guys will just go out, you know, like you guys are always doing something. And that's like, you know, that's really important. So you're like still dating each other, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love how he allows me to be adventurous.
Uh-huh.
Like there's some days that I'm like, "Hey, let's go check out your mom in Wyoming." He's like, "Well, I have to work that day." I'm like, "I have to work that day too, but as soon as you get off, let's go. I'll be rested and we'll just go." And Wyoming is only like 4.5, 5 hours drive from here, so it's nothing.
Hmm.
Or like we'll go to Wendover, the casino, at 9:30 at night, and we're just being adventurous. I think that when he allows me to be adventurous that way and accepts our adventure, um, it allows it to be more fun, be more spontaneous,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
just like us. Hey, Rhonda, you want to drive cross country with me? I like
Yeah.
gave it no thought and was like, well, I'll have to be scheduled off
Yeah.
and I'll have to find a way back, but yeah, let's do it, you know?
Yeah. It all worked out. Hey, so I meant to ask you, was that your first time getting on a plane when you
Yes,
were
that was
coming
my
back?
first time. And
Uh-huh.
that was also the first time seeing the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a lot of my first time. So first time road trip, first time airplane, first time ocean visit
So any ocean?
to any ocean at that time. Yep.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. I thought you
Yeah.
may have already gone like to California or no. No, so no.
Mm-mm. No. No,
Wow.
the only states that I've ever been in was Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Nevada. Those are the only four states I've ever been in. So with you, I've been to Las Vegas. That was my,
Uh-huh.
you know, my first trip. Um, with you, I've traveled how many states? Eight or nine? I think we've
Yeah,
crossed
I
eight or
think
nine
so.
states. With
Yeah.
you, I visited the East Coast. So yeah, a lot of adventures that we've had
Yeah.
together.
And then we've met up in Atlanta too when you
Yes.
were there for training. So
That was
yeah,
fun.
yeah. So I'm trying to think, even the Vegas thing, that was my first time going to Vegas too,
Uh-huh.
with you. And I just love it. I did not have a lot of money going on that trip, but
Mhm.
we made like the best out of it. And I had a blast. Like I did not
Yes.
want to go back to Salt Lake City.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I think it was like raining on the day that we were leaving, and that made it a little bit like easier to leave, I guess. But I just loved it.
Yeah.
It was a
And
lot of
not only was it raining, but remember we ran into an accident along the way.
on the way
And so
there,
we were
yeah,
like at a dead stop for like what, 2, 3 hours?
or more. I thought
Yeah,
more.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
I think it was like 3, maybe 2 or 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours, I think it was.
yeah.
Because we finally got to Vegas at like what, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock
In
in
the
the
morning,
morning.
and then you took me to the sign so that we could like see some of it before it got like light outside.
Uh-huh.
Um, Yeah, because we
Yeah.
left right. We left once we were both like done with work, we left.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that we had gotten to the mountain where you can see like Vegas down in the valley. And
Mm-hmm.
that is where the accident was. So we were like so close, we could see it, but we
Yeah.
could not move an inch because of that accident. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
we're like, what do we do? Because we couldn't sleep in the car because everybody was walking around
Yeah.
and lights on and just trying to
Uh-huh.
figure out what we're gonna do. And then by the time we get to Vegas, we like sleep for a couple hours and like, boom, let's go. Come on, let's do something.
Yeah. Yeah, we barely slept. But then we like fell asleep at night. Remember? We were
Uh-huh.
supposed to only sleep a little bit,
Oh
and then
yeah,
we
we went
woke
to the
up.
mall to
Yeah.
like get a pedicure or something, and we
Yeah.
got like see if we can find an outfit for the evening. And we're
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, let's take a little nap. Yeah, a nap sounds real nice right now. So then we like close the blinds again, put a towel underneath the door, and we set our alarm for like what, an hour, hour and a half. Nope,
Yeah.
we snoozed that little thing and we was out till like 9 o'clock.
Yes, I remember it was like 9 p.m. I was like, shoot, Rhonda, we're about to like oversleep. Sleep the
She's like,
night
we're
away.
sleeping in Vegas. And I was like,
I
hey, it's
know.
Vegas. It's 24 hours.
Yeah, yeah, that was like, yeah, and we pretty much stayed up all night. And remember, we walked back to the hotel, and our
Yeah,
feet were like,
that's another time where we stayed up all night.
yeah,
We went from one club that shut down. We went to the after club that
yeah,
finally shut down. We went to the casino to drink some more. And we're like,
yeah,
well, we have to check out soon. Maybe we should head back. And we walk out of the hotel and the sun was coming up and
yeah,
we had no money to go to
yeah, and the sprinklers were coming on.
the sprinklers. And we
Yeah,
were walking barefoot back to the hotel because we decided
yeah.
to wear heels to the club.
I had a blister on every single toe. Oh
Mhm,
my God, my feet looked horrible.
mhm.
I remember it was like 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning when we got to the hotel, and
Yes.
and like they were serving breakfast. I don't even think we ate. We just went straight
No.
upstairs.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. But it was
No.
just so much fun, man. Like
Yeah.
I cannot wait to go back, with Jamel because he's actually never been.
Oh
So
yeah.
I definitely want to take him, yeah, and just have like a blast.
Yeah, it's super fun. So yeah, so Vegas, and then just
Mhm.
recently, a couple of years ago, we got to go to the West Coast Ocean
Mhm.
in California. And then also a few years ago, I got to skydive. So that was really fun. So yeah, so I believe I lived a good life that if anything should ever happen, I've my bucket is full. There's of course
Wow.
still more adventures, but
Yeah, there's a lot more adventures ahead of you. You need to go to Europe. You
yeah,
need to like travel outside of the United States. As
yeah.
adventurous as you are, yeah, you
Mhm.
definitely do. So tell me, how did you get to the skydiving? Like what made you want
That
to do
has
it?
always been like not a dream, but like an activity, I guess you could say, that I've always wanted to do. And so one time my dad was like, "Hey, what should we do for your birthday?" And I was like, "Oh, I was thinking of going to Vegas." He's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Skydive," but it costs is like $400, $500, the package that I want to get. And he
Yeah.
was like, "Okay, let's do it then." And I was like, "Really? Serious?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, okay, but I think I need to pay now." And he was like, "Here." So he gave me the money. I think it was like 250,
Mhm.
and it was 250 for the tandem flying, but I had to like put $75 down or something.
Mhm.
So I made the reservation, I paid the deposit, and then when I got there, I found out that I couldn't use my own GoPro camera that I borrowed from a friend. I had to buy their video and picture package. So that was like I think another $200.
Mhm.
And because it was my birthday, because I'm the oldest, because I'm a baby of the family. No, I'm just kidding. Um, because my mom favors me a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. But my mom, she gave me $200 for the video and photo package, and so I did it. I jumped out of the plane, couldn't breathe for the first 30, 40 seconds.
Were you
And
scared?
then yeah, I wasn't scared on the flight up just because I've already been on the plane.
Mhm.
And I wasn't scared when we were ready to like, hop out of the plane. The only part that I was scared of was when you free fall for those 30, 40 seconds, 50
Mhm.
seconds, that the wind just blows in your face and you don't know whether to like consume all that wind, to hold it off, whatever. So like I told myself, don't freak out, but don't breathe for a minute. And that's where I started freaking out because I was like, oh my gosh, this is longer than a few seconds. What am I gonna do? And so there was times where like I would like push my face, away from the direct wind and like and then I like go forward again. So I would say one thing, if you're gonna skydive, wear a goggle, not a goggle, a face shield, so that way
Uh-huh.
you have some type of the wind's not just blowing in your face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They have
But
those
yeah,
available, those shields?
I don't remember if they have them there. Everything was just going so fast because you have to watch a training video, you have to get dressed up, suited up, you have to make sure that all your buckles are attached and tightened and all of that good stuff. And then you have to watch the video, and then you have to go through a little bit more training, and then you have to sign all these documents, and then you're like, it's just one step after the next. You don't have time to look around. You're just like, okay, let's do this before I change my mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Wow, wow.
Yeah.
I'm not brave enough. I don't know. I mean, it would be something. I mean, I think I would do it, but it would take a lot of me. Like, I guess it's not on my bucket list, so I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah, I just always wanted to, know the feeling. I've had dreams of flying, And
Mm-hmm.
it was always so nice, like, oh wow, this is what it looks like to fly, you know. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to do it. I want to see the bird's eye view, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
my tandem partner, he was super awesome. He was like, do you want to twirl around? I was like, yeah. So like we like went in like a spiral a little bit. But before we got low enough, we were able to like kind of like fly like kind of underneath a little bit to like to do
Uh-huh.
like a little side turn.
Uh-huh.
That was fun. Like, oh my gosh, I'll have to send you my video clip. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
please do.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do. I'd love to see it. I admire people that overcome fears, and I try to do that myself too, but the fact that, you did that, that's like, I mean, like
Yeah.
willingly jumping out of a plane is
Yeah. Yeah,
very
so that's why I
brave.
say, so that's why I truly believe if something were to happen at my age, I think I would be good with life. I would be okay. You know, I've done a lot of things that um it would be good. I would be okay, you know. I would be all right.
Mhm.
I would be all right leaving.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
like you said, there is more adventure out there. There is more to
Yes.
see, more to do. I know
Yeah.
I always tell my friends, I'm like, I always tell my husband and my daughter, like, dude, as soon as Benissa goes back to Germany again, we got to go with them. So that way she can show us all the ins and outs, show us the cheap local life, you know,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm all
yeah.
about cheap.
No, not in Germany. You have to come to Bosnia with me. That's where you'll get a bang for your buck as far as vacationing, for real.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I said it would always be nice to know somebody, so that way it's not like, oh, should we do that? Should we not do that? You know, is that safe to eat? Is that not safe to eat? What are they feeding us? What are they,
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
a,
Yeah.
like, is the water safe? Like, where do I go? Is it good to go down the alley or not that alley, you know?
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
so I always tell my friends that, I know a really good person who is very talented. She speaks Arabic, she speaks German, she speaks Bosnian, she speaks English. I said, I
Mhm.
think her next language will probably be Spanish if she could.
I speak hotel Spanish.
See, check you out.
Yeah, yeah. Over the years, you just like learn. I worked with a lot of Hispanic, people, so that has helped. Um, I definitely understand a lot. They used to tell me, one time I can understand. Like, do you know? Like, you've been in the industry for a long time too. Like, do you get the feeling like you know exactly what they're saying, but you just can't respond?
Yeah,
You feel that
because you're
way?
like, yeah, because they'll say something and you're like, I know you're saying take the trash outside, but I don't want to say that because maybe that's not what you're saying.
Yeah. But oftentimes, like, when I would talk to them, I would be like, "Oh, you want me to do this and this and this?" And they're like, "Yes, yes." So then when I moved to California for that short time, and I would like listen into them and try to like figure out what they were saying, right? And then I heard one associate say, "Don't talk. She understands us." It was so funny. I'm
And you couldn't
like,
help but laugh.
yeah. I'm like, I understood that. It was
And you're
so
like, oh
funny,
dang.
but I don't even know how to carry a conversation. I just know basic things. I can't even speak a whole sentence.
Yeah.
I can just put two and two together. And if
Uh-huh.
I if I understand a couple words within the sentence, I can kind of figure out what you're saying. That's how I have been getting by. But yeah, it's been fun, learning all these
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So let's see. Uh, I also know that you recently graduated from college, and you've gone back to get your bachelor's degree, right?
Yes, uh-huh.
So what are you getting your degree in?
So I recently graduated from Salt Lake Community College
Hmm.
a year ago. I've earned my associate's degree in business.
Hmm.
Just recently this year in August, I was able to walk in my commencement. and I got to walk with my best friend who I graduated high school with. So yeah, so that was an awesome feeling on its own. You feel like a young kid again, everybody's cheering you on. I had my support group in the crowd. And so that was awesome. And then my husband and a lot of my my coworkers, my associates that I work with, they've all encouraged me to go back to school and get my bachelor's degree. So now I've just started my first semester on my bachelor's degree. I plan to earn my bachelor's degree in accounting. Nice. So that's what I'm working on.
Great job. I know, you're just another confirmation that it's never too late to, to get you get a degree or finish what you started a long time ago, and you did not give up on yourself or your dream. What is your, I guess, end goal? What would you like to be?
So I would just like to be successful. I would just like to be, I want to beat the statistics of minorities, especially Native Americans who are uneducated. My parents, they stopped their education at high school. My grandparents, their story is pretty much, they probably stopped their education anywhere between just after elementary or maybe just after junior high. So education wasn't always like, you got to go to college, you got to do this, you got to do that. It was always go to school, get your schoolwork done. I don't want the school calling me, telling me that you're in trouble. I don't want the school calling me, telling me that you missed school. School is a part of life. Go to school. I don't want to hear it. And then after that, you do what you want, Yeah. And so I know as soon as my parents turned 18, they moved from the reservation here to Salt Lake City, and they got jobs, and they ran into each other a few years later, and been together then. But education wasn't, to me, in my family, wasn't like after high school you go to college. After college you get married. After you get married you have a family. It wasn't like that. It was pretty much go to school till you're 18, graduate, and then work, So it took me 10 years to go back to school. And then after 10 years of, life passing by, raising my daughter, working, I finally got to go to school. And my husband, like I said, my husband's in my ear, go to school, go to school, go to school. Don't work hard for the money. Let the money work hard for you. And the only way that's going to happen is if you have an education. Education seems key in today's society and economy. Education seems really important. And it took me 5 years to earn my associate's degree just because I was going to school part-time. There were some classes that were during the day that I had to go to school with young kids. Some young kids who were barely figuring out life. And then there was some evening classes that I took that I didn't come home until almost 9 o'clock at night, and I had to eat my dinner in the car, and my dinner was sandwiches and chips, But it took me a few years to get there. And now that I know the education path and the do's and don'ts of classes and studying and stuff, I feel more confident going back to work on my bachelor's degree. And so that's a little bit different, but like I mentioned, Weber State University that I'm going to, the teachers are supportive, the counseling is supportive. Everybody is so supportive there, that you don't feel lost, I know when I first started out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so old. Why am I doing this? Why am I going to college and all these kids are young and they're trying to figure out life? And I'm getting through life,
Yeah.
And there was many times that I felt discouraged. There was many times that I would sit in the back and not participate because I was afraid of being the old person in the back that didn't know anything. But throughout the years, I made my way to the front. I told myself that I'm paying for these classes. I need to make the best out of it. So I'm the one raising my hands, asking all the questions that I could so that way I can do well on the test. And so now I feel a little bit more confident going back to school at my age, even though I'm not that old. But I don't feel discouraged anymore. I know everybody's trying to get somewhere and do something with life, and that's how I feel. Getting a bachelor's degree will get me in the door into the higher society, I guess you can say.
Yeah. And you're setting a great example for generations to come, like, you know, your daughter and your family. You know, I hope that, you know, you going back to school will encourage other people to know that it's okay to start over, or, you know, like, you're never too old to do nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're still so young. I mean, you hear of people starting a new business at the age of 50 or older. You know, you won't know how successful you're going to end up being until you try. So, you know, head off to you for doing it. You know, that's all I really got to say, because, you know, you're doing it to better your life and your family's life. And so I'm excited to see how far you make it. Maybe you'll go for a doctorate. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Well, going to school now, like, there's a class that I'm taking that is that we have lectures of guest speakers who come in and they talk about their career path, their education path, how they got there, you know, what they're doing, how they've approached that position, you know. And I think this class is for the younger generation, so that way they can try to figure out what they want to do, you know, with their degree, or what kind of career path they want to take. And I've always told my husband that I'm okay with just working, just going to work, punch in, do my job, punch out, and go home. I don't want to take that work home with me. I don't want to think about it all night. I don't want to not sleep about it. You know, I just want to just do my job. And he's like, I know that, but, you know, get your education, get a job that is something that benefits you, and that piece of paper, that certificate, that degree will give you the value that you want, you know? And so I'm like, okay. So yeah, so I know there's currently a position that might open up at my work in the next future, in the next years to come, that requires a master's degree. But I think I'll settle for bachelor's.
You know what? Take baby steps, one degree at a time.
Yeah. I took a whole year off of school, and I was like, okay, if I'm going to get my bachelor's degree, because that's really where, you know, the big money starts, I need to go back, and I need to go back. And I was about to take, you know, another year off, and I was like, no, just go. Just go. I always talk with my boss at work, and he's, you know, very open, very honest, very encouraging, understanding. He, you know, supports my school schedule. My place of employment right now is amazing. It's, you know, it's family oriented, it's work-life balance, and I really enjoy it a lot. But he always tells me, you know, whether you go to school now or whether you go to school in a few months, you're still passing time. And I always tell him, okay, say I'm here for like 10 years and I know the ins and outs of so-and-so's job, and all of a sudden her job becomes available. And I know that job. I've been doing her job pretty much so that way I can learn. But you guys open that job up to the community, to the community. And the person who you interview with has a bachelor's degree. I know the job, and I've been here for 10 years. And I have an associate's degree, but I can step into this job today. Who would you consider for that position? The person with the bachelor's degree, he said.
Really?
Yes. And I was like, really? I was like, but what if I was your favorite? What if I brought you oatmeal and banana every day, you know? And he's like, yeah, Rhonda, he was like, I would hire you, but my boss and the boss's boss would go for the person with the bachelor's degree.
You know who I would go for?
You. Just
You.
kidding.
You. You. I
Yeah.
would I do think education is very important. And in certain fields, you've got to have that background. You know, when we talk like, you know, like accounting, like you mentioned, you know, you can't just know how to do simple math and do accounting. Like you do need a degree for that. You need to understand how to code and everything else like that. But in the field that you and I have been in for a long time, I think experience matters a lot too. And so if I had the choice, I would say if I had somebody already on my team that I've molded and taught, I would go with that person. I wouldn't even entertain anybody from the outside, because what kind of example am I setting for the rest of my team members too? That's always how I look at it, you know? Like I feel like I would like disappoint my staff if I bring a stranger in, unless nobody's qualified. You know, if there's nobody that's ready to move forward, or that just doesn't have, like they're just missing, you know, a certain level of experience, then I would consider. Or if the place of business is in like desperate need, like we need somebody strong that already knows what they're doing and that is like at a higher level, yeah, then I would explore bringing somebody in from external. But if we're doing great already, no, then internal, you know, development and promotion is like, but everybody's different. And I understand that, you know, people at a higher level would probably look at somebody with a degree, you know, they would look probably more, if they're looking at resumes, they probably would be more attracted to someone with a larger degree, you know. So I guess it all depends on the situation. But I know you're gonna do it, girl. You're gonna make it. I'm gonna see you all in the paper.
Yeah.
I already know you have greatness all around you, Rhonda.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, let's talk about school. I really want to kind of dive more into your culture a little bit.
Okay.
What do you think what, like, let me read the question right, because I'm like twisting my words right now. Do you think what is being taught in school regarding the Native American culture and history is being sugar-coated or lied about?
Yes. I truly believe that in school, the Native American history, well, history on its own, is only showing the success of the colonizers, of the American people, who made America. Um, Today, I believe they're just showing the success of their story. They're not showing the blood and the tears and the violence of how they conquered America today. Like, let's go back to what is it? Let's go back to scalping. You know, they say, oh, Native Americans scalped. No, it was the Spaniards who did scalping, to show um, their defeat of, you know, the people who they were fighting. But it was also the American people who started scalping Native Americans. And for every scalped Native they brought back, they got an incentive. So scalping did not start with Native Americans. It started with, you know, the outside, the outside society. it's also being sugar-coated in a lot of ways of, you know, mass massacres. You know, in history, we learn about the Holocaust, but we don't learn about the massacres that has happened here on America's land. You know, one, for example, is the Sand Creek Massacre. That was a mass massacre of the Cheyenne and Arapaho people. And in that massacre, they killed a majority of women, elderly, and children. You know, another massacre was the massacre of the Navajos during the Long Walk. Navajos who lived on their land were relocated to another part of the country, of the state. It was called Bosque Redondo. And Navajos, I don't know, thousands of Navajos had to relocate from their land of enchantment to this camp to be held there and be imprisoned. During that walk, they lost, again, women, children, and the elderly. And they tried to kill off Native Americans in that way as well. Another mass massacre was the blanket and smallpox. You know, the British tried to get rid of Native Americans so that way they could defeat them in that way by giving them smallpox, trying to kill them in that way. You know, you don't hear about those stories in history, but you sure hear about the massacres in other countries.
Right.
You know, and it's like, no, let's tell the history of the state of the United States history first. You know, and all of this is over greed of land. They wanted the land. They wanted that property. You know. So yeah, I think the way history is being shown now is super sugar coated and wrong.
Tell me, so is like your community, is it making sure like that you guys know the right history? Like, is there like teachings that are being done, or are you, or you know, or storytelling? Like, how are you being informed of, you know, how your ancestors were treated, or what really was going on, or like events, like important events that have happened, or tragedies? Like, how do you find out about those things?
So growing up, I know there's a lot of tribes who do storytelling, and that's how they learned of how their people came about, and that's how they learn, you know, of their family history. I know in my growing up, stories weren't told. I had to learn about these things by either reading about them on my own, attending a Navajo culture class for credit for college or for a scholarship. I had to attend those classes, and that's where I learned of these things as well. I know in my family, and other, you know, Navajo families can be different, but I know in the Navajo way that when something bad happens, you kind of let it go. You kind of grieve for a little bit, but you don't hold on to that hate. You don't hold on to that hurt, that sadness. You know, you learn from it and then you move on, or else you're just going to be stuck in one spot, and you're going to be circling and circling and circling, not going anywhere. You know. So these things I had to learn. I've recently, I mean, I started learning as I grew older, and I believe I learned a whole lot more in my history class during my college, you know, my recent college years at the community college. And that's where it was like, wow, really? Like, they've really done that? And so now when there are other Native Americans who speak about their tribes, I try to make sure and go and learn their story and their tribal stories. So that way I, one, teach myself, and then two, I better understand, you know, of the hardships that our people went through. I know there's a lot of people who say, wow, I'm really sorry what I've done to what our people done to your people. And, I don't, there's some times that I don't know how to react, but I've learned to react in a way that is like, thank you for recognizing the history. But we are still here. We are still resilient. We are still strong. Each Native American tribe is growing, is prospering, is teaching the next generation of who we are, where we come from. And as that, we're still resilient. We're still here. We're still growing.
That's awesome. And that's how it should be. I feel so bad, that I feel like, it's like you guys were stripped from your land. And even, until within the last year, I've learned about the $5 Indian. I had no idea that, like I had no idea what that meant. I had to, be educated on it, and I ended up like reading up on it also. And it just made me like, it's like, it's so unfair. So people were posing as Indians so that they could claim land. And they were, and they were basically paying $5 for certificates that would basically like say that they are Native Americans so that they can then go and claim the land. Like, that is like such a fraud, and I feel like, I don't know, somebody needs to like demand that is traced back to see, okay, who owns that land today, and take it back, and it's not fair to your community because, I mean, I don't know much about your community, right? But I just feel like they don't have that, like you mentioned earlier, they don't have the education that they should, or they weren't taught, right? That education was important. It was all about working. And then I know some like casinos are on Indian reservations, right? But I just feel like you should be richer. That's really, like, there should be more compensation and money involved, reparations. I know that you shared with me, years ago, that I think your husband still receives some. I don't know how far down in generation that goes, but it's not enough. Like, you don't receive anything, right?
No, not the Navajo culture, not the Navajo tribe. They don't receive royalties, is what they're called, for compensation for land taken from them. They don't receive it directly from the government. I know there are some people who receive compensation for their land if they have those oils and minerals on their own land. Oh yeah, they get paid individually, but as a whole tribe, no, we don't.
Like, why not? Like, those are the kind of questions I have. Why not? I feel like because you were stripped from the land, and look at how everything works in this, like, in today's world, how taxes are being assessed and all these things based on assets and land. Land is so valuable, like, it needs to be like, you need to be compensated for that. I mean, how far back, how many generations back do we go? Like, maybe 7 or 8, right?
Yeah.
To, like, the time frame.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, realistically, maybe 10, if you look at like
Well, I
average.
think recently, when was it, somewhere in the early 1900s, Native Americans were recently recognized as citizens of the United States. Even though our land and country was taken from us and they conquered us, we were immigrants of our own country.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So recently, I can't remember what the year was, but yeah, we were recently in the early 1900s, 1920s, 1940s. We were barely considered citizens of the United States.
That's ridiculous. Like, where
And
would you
then,
have immigrated from? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah. And then just recently too, and like a few years later, we were finally able to vote in the United States. So yeah, it is a little contradicting how there's a saying out there, kill the Indian, save the man. It's a little contradicting how the $5 Indian topic you talked about, how it was bad to be Indian, but yet you want to be Indian to purchase land, to
mhm.
buy, so that way you can have land. Like, how 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 dumb does that sound? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
so
double
okay, fine then.
standard.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yep,
Mhm.
yep, that's what I
But it
believe.
all boils back to it boils back to money and power, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and land, the worth of land. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why, I just think that, you know, when I mean, I feel like, when I think of reservations, and you should stop me if I'm wrong, let me know if I'm wrong, but I just think that the Native Americans live a lot less civilized maybe, especially on reservations, than, I feel like they should be, you know, like, have riches and palace or whatever the case may be, because of what they have gone through and everything, and not be like the poorest of
Yeah.
the residents of the country.
Mm. And yeah, that's what I also find hard too, is I know on the Navajo reservation, my grandma just turned 91 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Never have they had running water where she was raised and
Mm-hmm.
where she lives now. There's still no running water. 91 years. I don't know how many, I can't account for how many years before that, but if we still have no running water, how many years has we gone by with no running water?
Which is a
Power,
necessity.
yeah, power was barely introduced to some parts of the reservation, really, just barely. But still, there's no power in a lot of homes as well. So when the pandemic hit, they're trying to tell people to, shop for a week, shop for a month, try not to go to town to get your necessities, wait out a month, wait
Mhm.
out a week, wait out a month. But how could you buy milk and produce and keep it fresh if you don't have power,
Right.
you know? And so that's where I believe that, um, Native Americans are still resilient.
Mhm.
I always say that reservations, people who live on the reservation, we're like a third world country in our country.
Mhm.
Poverty is still high, suicide is still high, the economy, the society there, the income is very low, and if you have a job and you live on the reservation, it can take you anywhere between 45 minutes to 2 hours to get to that job, to and from each day.
Mhm.
That's just not total trip, that's each day. So yeah, it's a little heartbreaking knowing that our land was taken from us and we are to relocate to these reservations, and somewhere we're still supposed to survive. We are still
Mhm.
surviving. We are still, flourishing. We're still resilient. We're still here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very sad. I saw some of that on the news too, where they were interviewing people on the reservation, and they were, having a hard time during the pandemic, with even getting resources and, not receiving financial assistance and everything else. So it's just, it's very, very saddening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, so we kind of already touched on how you keep your culture alive, but what are
Mm-hmm.
some of your favorite traditions you like to celebrate?
So some of the favorite traditions I like to celebrate, one would be the Womanhood Ceremony.
Hmm.
The Womanhood Ceremony is a ceremony that recognizes menstruation that happens.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like an announcement a little bit, Um, I remember when I first started and I was at Walmart and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is really happening. One, like this is happening, and two, like I finally get to have my ceremony now, and at that time you think, okay, this is a womanhood ceremony. I should be taken seriously now, I'm a woman now,
Yeah.
I can tell you what to do. But I remember, so I was at Walmart and then I walked out and my mom was shopping, so still looking around, and um I told her, I was like, hey mom, and I was like, I was afraid to tell her, because I was like, maybe this should be a little private conversation, not at Walmart. Then I was like, oh no, I should be fine. And I was like, mom, um, we need to buy some stuff. And she's like, what stuff? And I was like, some like woman stuff. She's like, why? And I was like, because I started today. She's like, do you need some right now? Should we go there now? And I was like, oh no. I said they had like some in the bathroom, so I bought it for like 25 cents. It kind of feels weird, but.
Mhm.
And she's like, oh my gosh, my woman started her period.
Oh
Oh my
my
gosh, we
God.
got a plan. And she was like the loudest person in Walmart. And I was like, oh my gosh, mom. Like, okay, I'm gonna be waiting in the car. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember like she was like, no, just stay in here. We're almost done. So I was like, okay. So like I was pushing, she's like, here, push the cart. So I'm pushing the cart. She's calling all of my aunts. She called my grandma, and she's calling everybody and she's walking down each aisle. Yeah, Rhonda just started her period, so we got to get the ceremony started. Hey, guess what? Rhonda started her period and we got to get the ceremony started. And everybody's
Yeah,
just
I can
looking
see
at my
your mom
mom.
doing that too.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, and I'm just pushing the cart right along her, like, oh my gosh, are you serious? And so yeah, so I say that would be like the best ceremony tradition that I like to practice.
Uh-huh.
Because during that ceremony you realize your strengths, your weaknesses, and there, everybody's praying for you. So you want to be the you want to take those prayers in, and you want to uh pray that you'll be the best woman that you can be.
Mhm.
And that ceremony I like to celebrate too, because it's all about you. It's all about your outcome and all the people who believe in you. you know
I like
so
that.
that's the best part of being this best one celebration that I like to participate in.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
Another cultural celebration that I like to participate in is the powwow.
Hmm.
The powwow is a dance of is a dance that people dance in their regalia. And I believe the powwow started with the tribes on more on the East Coast, Great Plains Indian started
Hmm.
with. So to attend that little celebration or gathering, what you call it, also there you receive your your spiritual prayers. You get to associate with other natives. You get to be your own native self among other natives and
Hmm.
not feel funny or embarrassed or outcasted about it. There's a lot of slangs that natives talk about, and we joke about, and it's good to be with your native people, to be native.
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely. Tell me, I guess, you grew up in Utah, and to my surprise, when I moved to Utah, I realized it was such a diverse state. I didn't quite expect that, to be honest. And I had never met, a Native American until then. I had never met somebody that was Polynesian or Hawaiian. And I just loved the diversity, even of my, of the team that I was working with. And so tell me, like, I guess, growing up there, do you feel that your culture was accepted?
Yeah, so while growing up, I grew up on the west side of Salt Lake City, the Glendale area. People would call that the ghetto area. But in that community, we minorities were the majority of that area, you know. Um, like you said, I grew up with Polynesians, I grew up with Hawaiians, I grew up with African Americans, with Asians. I grew up with Hispanics, Guatemalans, Salvadorians.
Mhm.
And then the little Americans that we had, they also had some of their own, I guess, cultural background, Swedish and French. And so when I grew up, it was like our own little small world, but I didn't grow up with racism or hate.
Yeah.
I grew up that being brown, being of culture, being of a Native American descent, um, was awesome, was cool.
Mhm.
Everybody always says, "Oh, you're Native American?" Yeah, I'm Native American. Oh, what tribe? I'm like Navajo, full-blooded. That's me. Can I touch your hair? Do you wear this? Do you do that? And I'm like, no, you can't touch my hair. Yes, we wear jewelry. No, we don't do that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, so I didn't grow up with a lot of racism or hate, just because my community was brown all around, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Well,
so
that's
yeah,
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious because, I mean, like I said, I felt that the community in general, like everybody, was very welcoming and accepting. I actually always tell people like that one of the hardest working teams and self-efficient teams I've ever worked with was in Utah. Um,
Hmm.
everybody was very dependable. I feel like, every time there was a call off, it just got covered. Like I would come in and I would see the same person that
Hmm.
there when I left, and I'm like, wait a minute, why are you still here? Oh, such and such called off, so I just stayed and covered that shift, and that person is gonna come in and cover my shift for me on this day. It was like everything was just handled. I was not used to that. I was used to getting calls all the time and going in and covering, but I felt like it was very well organized, and everybody that I worked with was really hardworking.
Yeah. Okay, I don't
Everything.
know where we left off.
Okay,
Oh,
let's see.
traditions.
The
Traditions we like to
tradition. So you
celebrate.
did powwow.
Uh-huh. So yeah, so the powwow, I like to attend those. Like I said, it's where you get to be Native American and be, like amongst your people,
Mhm.
and plus the dancing of each person. They all have their own little story in their dances, in their dance categories. You know,
Mhm.
that's a whole different subject. I don't really know a whole lot about. Um, but yeah, those are some of my favorite traditions that I like to celebrate.
Awesome. Okay, so let's see. Well, I can skip a lot of these actually.
Mhm.
Okay, so if someone wanted to learn more about your cultural traditions, what do you recommend they watch, or what areas of the country should they visit?
I would say if they want to learn about my Navajo tribe, Go down to the Four Corners area, and I know the Four Corners of Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, and Arizona. That's a little national park on its own. Another part of that area would be where is it? Durango, Colorado. There is near Durango, Colorado. There is a national monument where the Anasazis used to live. The Anasazis were a Native American tribe as well that just disappeared all of a sudden. They don't know what happened to them. Some people they just don't know. They just left. And so they want to believe that, was it the environment? Was it the food? What was it? So they still have their home and dwellings there in that national monument. But yeah, just if you go down to the reservation, you'll see the livings of some areas. Some areas are a little bit nicer than others. But like I said, we're still we're a third world country in the United States.
Yeah.
Also to learn about other tribes out there, I know there's some Native American tribes recognized and registered near the East Coast as well. You can always either go to that part of the community or that museum and learn about them as well. I know I know a movie called Dreamkeeper. And that is made by Hallmark. But it's a really good movie that does storytelling of different tribes. And that I would suggest watching that to learn a little bit more about, the creation story of some people, about how the sky was created, and some of the love stories of each person's tribe. So, yeah, I would suggest those.
I had no idea. Can you mention the tribe again that just like disappeared? What's the name of it?
The Anasazis.
Okay. I'm gonna look into that more. I have never heard of them. I've never heard of them, but I also did not know that there was a tribe that just like disappeared.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's interesting. Like I try to talk to my parents, my aunts and uncles, and my grandparents. But there was just some things that we didn't talk about, and learning about these things actually in my college career. I mean, not my college career, in my college education. I've learned about these things, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing to learn history again, so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So Rhonda, I have one last question for you before we can wrap up. Tell me, who inspires you and why?
Who inspires me? I would have to say my family inspire me. The people who I meet along the way inspire me, you being one of them. My grandparents, they inspire me to be, the next generation, to be a stronger person, to carry on our traditional beliefs. My family inspire me. They're my number one supporters. There's some days that I'm like, why am I even in school? Why am I even doing this? But my husband's like, because you want, a better life. You deserve a better life. My daughter always tells me, you have to learn in order to grow, to succeed. My mom, she's always like, well, why are you talking that way? Are you tired? Go to sleep. Why are you talking that way? Are you hungry? Come over and eat before you go to class, and just like the people who I meet along the way, they always encourage me in some type of way. Hey, you're going to school. That's great. Keep going, keep doing it, and I would say those are the ones that inspire me the most, is the people who are on my side, building me up so I can be a better person, not only for me, but for my parents, for my brother, my sister, my husband, my daughter, for my nieces and my nephew. That's who inspires me the most.
Well, that's beautiful. You are a very inspirational person too. Like I said, I love your adventurous spirit. I love the way you love your family and the closeness like you guys have. Oftentimes I envy it because my family is so far away, and it's so cool to see you guys like always doing something. And it's been so consistent. It's like, I know this is not just like whatever I see on social media, that is not just for show. That is actually who you are to the core. I think that your culture is so interesting and very unique, and you really you really carry yourself like you're proud of who you are, and of course you're very driven because look, I mean, ambitious to go back to school, in your early 20s.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And go back and get your associate and now getting your bachelor's. I don't have enough of that drive to do that. So, I do, think that's just amazing of you to do. You care for people, and you're so much fun to be around too. I've had like some of the greatest times with you. So, I really appreciate you being part of my life. And, I know we don't talk very often, but I just knew like I could not wait to get you on my show because I just think that you're just so full of like experience and information, and, you're just like a very well-rounded person.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So, to our friends and listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in again to another episode of Benisa's Café. You can listen to me and my guest on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker Radio. You can also watch this video on YouTube, and for more information, click on the links in the bio. Thank you for watching. Until next time.
Thank you. Bye.